Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bachelor Nation News. Fans, Mel Owens stood on the balcony overlooking the glittering city lights below, his heart hammering like a drum in a silent stadium. The wind tugged at his jacket as if urging him to make the impossible choice that had haunted him for weeks. Behind him, the grand estate hummed with quiet tension, the roses waiting silently in their vases, each a symbol of love and hope and heartbreak. Tonight, he would choose. Tonight, two women, two futures, and a lifetime of what-ifs would hang on the edge of a single decision. Mel's journey to this moment had been nothing short of extraordinary. From awkward first meetings and clumsy small talk to deep conversations under starlit skies, every step had been a test of heart, patience, and courage. And now he was faced with a cruel irony. The more he got to know them, the more impossible the decision became. Cindy, radiant and confident, had captured him with her laughter and unshakable optimism. She had a way of turning even the smallest moment into a memory he could carry forever. The first time she made him laugh until his stomach ached during a group date, Mel had felt a spark, an undeniable chemistry that whispered, "This is someone who gets me." Then there was Rachel, mysterious and introspective, who challenged Mel in ways he hadn't anticipated. She pushed him to think deeper, to feel harder, and in her quiet moments, he glimpsed a vulnerability that mirrored his own. Rachel's subtle gestures, the way she brushed her hair behind her ear, the thoughtful pauses before she spoke, told Mel more than words ever could. But love, Mel knew, was never simple. And tonight, simplicity was the one thing he couldn't find. The doors opened behind him, and the soft echo of heels on marble broke his thoughts. "Mel!" Cindy's voice trembled slightly, but her eyes sparkled, betraying the confident facade she usually wore. She stepped onto the balcony, the golden light catching her hair like it was woven from sunlight itself. He turned, heart racing, and saw her smile, a smile that could melt glaciers. But then Rachel appeared from the shadows of the hallway, her presence quieter but no less powerful. She approached slowly, giving him space, but her gaze pierced him in a way that made his chest ache. "Are you ready?" Rachel's voice was calm, composed, yet every word carried the weight of unspoken emotions. Mel swallowed hard, trying to steady the storm of feelings inside him. I think I'm ready," he said, though his voice sounded fragile even to his own ears. The evening was set. The final rose awaited, a simple emblem of a decision that was anything but simple. He could almost hear the universe holding its breath, waiting for him to choose. The confession. As the three of them walked to the rose ceremony, the tension was almost unbearable. Cindy reached for his hand, her fingers brushing his, sending a jolt of warmth up his arm. "Mel, I need you to know how much I care. No matter what happens tonight, I want you to be happy," she said softly, looking up at him with those unwavering eyes. Rachel, meanwhile, remained composed, but her lips trembled slightly. "Mel, I've never been good with words, but I hope you can see everything I feel in my actions," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Mel closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. How could he compare the laughter that lit up his soul with the quiet depth that anchored his heart? How could he weigh chemistry against connection, passion against understanding? The paradox of choice felt like a blade twisting in his chest. Heart versus head. Standing before the rose ceremony table, Mel's mind raced. Memories flashed. Cindy dancing barefoot in the garden during a sunset date. Rachel sharing her childhood stories under a canopy of stars. Laughter echoing through the mansion. Whispered secrets in the quiet corners. Tears shed in vulnerable moments. Each memory demanded him to choose it, to claim it as his truth. The audience's murmurs faded into silence in Mel's ears. This wasn't about anyone else. This was about the raw, unfiltered emotions that surged through him every time he looked at either of them. His heart was breaking already, even before a single rose was handed out. He had always believed in love at first sight, but now he knew love at last sight. The terrifying, bittersweet moment when you realize your heart cannot hold both.
The moon hung low over the estate, casting a silver glow on the rose-laden aisle. Every petal seemed to whisper secrets, promises, and regrets, as if nature itself understood the stakes. Mel's hand trembled slightly as he held the final rose, its vibrant red contrasting sharply against the dark night. Cindy stepped forward first, her eyes bright with hope, but shadowed by uncertainty. Mel, whatever happens tonight, I just want you to know that being here with you has been the most incredible experience of my life. Her voice cracked for just a moment, betraying the vulnerability she usually masked with confidence. Rachel followed, her steps quieter, yet each movement deliberate. She met his gaze directly, and for a split second, time seemed to freeze. I've tried not to fall too hard, Mel, but I can't hide what I feel. You've become everything I didn't know I was searching for. Mel's throat tightened. Everything he wanted to say, the words that could convey the whirlwind of emotions inside him, vanished into the cold night air. He realized he could no longer think rationally. Logic had no place here. Only his heart could speak. Conflicting emotions. He remembered Cindy's laughter, the way it made even the darkest moments feel lighter. That night during the wine tasting, when she'd spun around in her flowing dress, carefree and radiant, he had felt alive in a way he hadn't in years. Cindy made him feel joy, spontaneity, and the thrill of being fully present in a moment. Then Rachel appeared in his thoughts, quiet yet profound. He recalled her hand brushing against his as they walked along the moonlit path. Rachel's depth, her intellect, and the way she understood the unspoken parts of him had rooted him in a way he didn't think possible. Rachel made him feel seen, understood, and cherished on levels he had never experienced. His mind was a battlefield, torn between laughter and solace, light and depth, adventure and intimacy. Could he really choose one and let the other slip away forever? The moment of choice. The rose ceremony had reached its peak. Cameras captured every heartbeat, every quiver of the lips, every tear threatening to fall. The producer's whispers faded into insignificance. It was just Mel and the two women who had captured his heart. He looked at Cindy. She was radiant, but the fear in her eyes mirrored his own. Then he turned to Rachel, whose calm exterior barely masked the tension coiled inside her. "Mel," she began, her voice trembling, "I love you. I really do. Please, choose me." Mel's chest ached. "Cindy, Rachel, I can't." His words failed him. Every fiber of his being wanted to speak the truth, but the truth itself was a paradox. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He tried to imagine a life with each of them. With Cindy, laughter and adventure. With Rachel, depth and understanding. His heart felt as if it were being pulled in two directions at once. Heartbreak unfolds. Finally, the words escaped his lips, each syllable heavy with sorrow. I can't." The room fell silent. Cindy's eyes widened in shock, then a tear slipped down her cheek. Rachel's face remained composed, but her hands tightened at her sides, betraying the storm within. "I never wanted to hurt either of you," Mel continued, his voice breaking, "but I have to follow my heart, and I have to choose the person I see my future with." Cindy stepped back, her hand falling from his, her heart shattering in a moment that felt like an eternity. I understand," she whispered, though her tremor in her voice said otherwise. She turned away, fighting the sobs that threatened to escape. Rachel stepped forward slowly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Mel, I've waited for this moment, even though I knew it would be painful," she said softly. "Whatever happens, I hope you find happiness, even if it's not with me." Mel's hands shook as he extended the rose. The weight of the decision crushed him, a mixture of relief, fear, and deep, soul-crushing heartbreak. As the final rose was placed in Rachel's hand, the air seemed to shatter. Cindy's sobs echoed through the mansion, a haunting melody of lost love. Mel watched her walk away, each step a dagger to his heart. He wanted to run after her, to stop the inevitable, but he knew some things were beyond control. Rachel looked at him, tears spilling freely now. I hope we can still find our way, even if it's not like this, she said, voice trembling, yet full of sincerity. Mel sank onto the bench, burying his face in his hands. The love he felt for both women, the joy, the connection, the laughter, the deep understanding, was now tinged with unbearable grief. He had chosen, but in doing so, he had also
The mansion
lost.
was eerily quiet after the rose ceremony. Cindy had retreated to her suite, the soft sound of her quiet sobs echoing down the hallway. Mel sat alone in the garden, the night air heavy with the scent of roses he had just handed, and the weight of his decision pressed down on him like a physical force. He had made the choice, yet the agony of having done so was unbearable. His mind replayed every smile, every laugh, every stolen glance. With Cindy, the world had felt like sunlight spilling over every corner of his life, warm, vibrant, and intoxicatingly alive. And now she was gone from his life, at least in this moment, leaving a void that no amount of reassurance or future possibility could fill. Rachel sat beside him, her hand lightly brushing his shoulder. "I can feel what you're feeling," she said softly. "Choosing me doesn't mean you didn't love her. It doesn't erase what you shared." Mel shook his head. "It feels like I've torn my heart in two," he whispered. "I wanted both. I wanted everything with both of you, and now I have neither fully. I've hurt Cindy, and even with you, I feel this emptiness I didn't think was possible." Rachel looked at him, tears pooling in her eyes. "Love is never clean, Mel. It's messy, complicated. Sometimes it hurts more than it heals, but it also teaches you who you really are and what you truly want." Mel buried his face in his hands, trying to fight back tears that threatened to spill over. "I keep thinking maybe I made a mistake. Maybe I should have, I don't know, chosen differently. Or maybe chosen no one at all. How can the heart be so full of love, yet so full of sorrow at the same time?" Cindy's perspective. Meanwhile, in her suite, Cindy stared at her reflection in the mirror, trying to compose herself. Her lips quivered, and her hands shook as she wiped away the tears that had streamed down her face. "I can't believe it. I thought we had something real. I thought he could feel it too. I gave him everything, my heart, my trust, my laughter, and now it feels like it was all for nothing." Her phone buzzed. It was a message from one of the producers, a simple, "Are you okay?" She ignored it. No words could soothe the ache that now resided in her chest. For the first time in a long time, Cindy felt the sting of true heartbreak, the kind that makes you question yourself, your worth, and even the possibility of love. She wanted to scream, to run, to throw herself into the night, but she stayed rooted, trying to remember who she was without him. Mel's self-reflection. Back in the garden, Mel remained seated, staring at the rose in Rachel's hand. Its petals were soft and vibrant, yet to him it symbolized the pain of what he had lost. "I thought I knew what love was, but maybe I was naive. Love isn't just joy. It's sacrifice, it's heartbreak, it's choosing when there is no right answer. How do you choose happiness for yourself without shattering someone else's heart?" Rachel reached out, gently placing her hand over his. "You can't control their feelings, Mel, and you can't control the heart. The only thing you can do is be honest, with yourself and with them.
He nodded, slowly, feeling the truth in her words, yet the ache in his chest didn't subside. It lingered, like a shadow that refused to leave. The night felt endless, and the mansion seemed to hold its breath, as if mourning the loss of what might have been. A glimmer of hope. Despite the pain, a small flicker of hope remained. Rachel squeezed his hand, her own eyes glistening with unshed tears. We may have made mistakes tonight, and yes, hearts were broken. But maybe this isn't the end. Maybe it's just the beginning of understanding what love really means and who we are when we love fully. Mel looked at her, his eyes reflecting a mixture of despair and gratitude. I hope someday, no matter how messy it gets, that love doesn't feel this heavy again, that I can give my heart without fearing the heartbreak that follows. Rachel smiled softly. That's the risk we take. And maybe, just maybe, the reward is worth it. The two of them sat in silence, surrounded by roses that seemed to weep alongside them. The world had shifted irrevocably, yet somewhere in the midst of heartbreak, they began to understand that love, messy, painful, and beautiful, was still worth every tear.
And the garden seemed to grow colder, as if reflecting the emptiness gnawing at Mel's soul. He watched Cindy's figure disappear down the moonlit path, each step taking a piece of his heart with her. He had wanted to hold her, to tell her that she would always matter, but the words got trapped, tangled in the weight of his own pain. Rachel remained by his side, her hand still clutching his, yet even her presence, comforting as it was, could not erase the image of Cindy's broken smile seared into his mind. He felt torn in ways he had never imagined possible, like a rope being pulled from both ends, threatening to snap the very core of his being. "I can't stop thinking about her," he confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. Even though I'm here, part of me still wants to run after her, to fix what I've broken." Rachel's eyes softened. "Mel, that's what heartbreak feels like. You can't erase love that's been given to someone, nor can you undo the feelings you've stirred. All you can do is honor them, and honor yourself, even in the midst of pain." He nodded, tears slipping freely now. "I thought choosing would bring clarity. I thought it would bring peace, but instead, it's just this emptiness. How can love feel so full and so empty at the same time?" Cindy's pain. Meanwhile, Cindy had reached her suite, her body shaking with sobs that refused to be contained. She collapsed onto the bed, clutching the pillow as though it could absorb her heartbreak. "She gave him everything," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "And now he's chosen someone else. Did he ever really love me? Or was I just a chapter he enjoyed before moving on?" Her phone buzzed again, a text from a friend checking in, but Cindy couldn't bring herself to reply. No words could soothe this ache. The reality of being rejected by the one she had opened her heart to completely was almost unbearable. She felt hollow, a storm of grief and disbelief raging inside her. "I loved him," she said aloud, her voice cracking. "I still love him, and I don't know if that will ever go away." Back in the garden, Mel remained seated, staring at the last rose, his hands trembling. The choice had been made, but the emotional aftermath felt like a relentless storm. He had wanted to protect both women from pain, yet he had delivered heartbreak instead. "I feel like I failed," he admitted to Rachel, who knelt beside him. "I wanted to love fully, to be with both, but I can't. I've hurt her, and maybe I've hurt myself too." Rachel reached for his face, her thumb brushing away a tear. "Pain doesn't mean failure, Mel. It means love. It means you cared enough to feel deeply. Heartbreak is just love's shadow. It follows every joy, every connection. And surviving it, that's what makes us human."
Mel took a deep breath, trying to anchor himself in her words. But I keep replaying it. Cindy's smile, her laugh, everything about her. How am I supposed to let that go? Rachel didn't answer immediately. Instead, she leaned close, resting her head gently on his shoulder. You don't have to forget. You just have to accept that love can be both beautiful and painful, that it can teach you, even when it breaks you. And maybe, one day, you'll look back and see that it was all worth it, even the heartbreak. The weight of choice. For the first time, Mel closed his eyes and let the grief wash over him fully. He felt hollow, raw, and exposed, yet strangely alive. The heartbreak wasn't just about losing Cindy, it was about realizing the magnitude of his own feelings, the depth of his capacity to love, and the cruelty of having to make an impossible choice. The roses surrounding them seemed to shimmer in the moonlight, silent witnesses to the heartache that had unfolded. The air was heavy with the scent of crushed petals, a bittersweet reminder that love and pain were inseparable companions. Mel realized something profound in that moment. Heartbreak didn't diminish love, it magnified it. It revealed how deeply he could feel, how fiercely he could care, and how vulnerable opening one's heart truly made a person. A glimmer in the darkness. Rachel squeezed his hand one last time. "We'll survive this," she whispered. "Love isn't just about roses or ceremonies. It's about honesty, courage, and the willingness to feel everything, even the pain." Mel looked up at the night sky, a cascade of stars stretching endlessly above. His heart still ached, the shadow of Cindy's absence lingering like a ghost. But amidst the sorrow, he felt the tiniest flicker of hope. Perhaps love wasn't about choosing the perfect path, it was about walking it, even when it hurt. And in that quiet, painful realization, Mel found a fragile sense of peace. The heartbreak was immense, but so was the love he had experienced. And sometimes, he realized, the depth of heartbreak was proof of a heart that had truly dared to love.